Oh, hello there. Zara Highhill here. Thanks for tuning in to the Dragon Between podcast, a 5th edition D&D story based on Keith Baker's steampunk land of Eberron. We release a new episode every week, so be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever fine podcasts are made. Now, let's begin the adventure, but remember, sometimes the greatest adventures are the secrets that we keep within.
When we last met, the characters had continued on the Orient trade route, gaining a House-Beneath Blades detachment as an escort towards the city of Zilspar. After getting to know this envoy, this detachment, and learning a bit about the goings-on within the region, the characters bedded down for the evening, that first night, with a bit of frivolity, nocturnal escapades, and a bit of a misunderstanding which led to a couple of stabbings from party members. The group continued on the road, eventually making their way with their escort to the city of Zilspar, east of the City of Towers by several hundred miles. The characters, upon arriving, suddenly realized that the city was home to a strange demo, this display of these strange vehicles that resembled carriages without horses and moved much quicker than the typical horse-drawn carriage. The group began to make their way towards a town square and observed a large thrumming crowd which was observing this display of these various vehicles which resembled carriages. And the group dismounted from their horses and began to disperse into the crowd, getting closer towards the action, splitting up, at least for the time being. Eli, Lithana, and Auri made their way towards the center of the action, as Ender and Gunny slipped off. As the trio that went towards the square finally arrived at the action, they observed a strangely dressed bit woman who called herself Mackenzie. Mackenzie was displaying and taking questions from the crowd these strange vehicles, which the characters later discovered were called Totorum. The first one being the 1000 series, and the other series, which is there with it, the 1500 series, or 1050, as the characters began to ask questions about the vehicle and were able to take a ride and experience the exhilaration of this very fast-moving land-based vehicle. The characters discovered that there was actually a third vehicle, which was meant to be on display, but had mysteriously gone in the middle of the night, disappeared, along with 2 engineers. The woman, who claimed to be from Castellanter Corporation, who was displaying these vehicles, was convinced by the trio of Eli, Lithana, and Auri to allow them to investigate this disappearance and find out a few details about and possibly locate these vehicles and solve this mystery for the Castellanter Corporation. The characters continue on, observing the House Orion storage facility and observing the clear signs of someone entering and using the third armored vehicle to bash their way out of the double doors of the facility. It wasn't too far away, the characters discovered that the black coach, which had been observed exiting the main onto the main road from Sharn, carrying their quarry, Elric Fateweaver, and the woman, Rosalind, which was an associate of Elric's, had also been observed. As the 3 investigated further with this Mackenzie woman, they discovered that the black coach was not empty. It was abandoned. And upon opening the coach up, they discovered the bodies of the engineers, their throats torn out, bloodless injuries. After some haggling and a bit of communication with Mackenzie, it was agreed upon that the group would be allowed to escort the smaller of the vehicles towards its destination of Trollenport within the nation of Zolargo. And a rocky contract was drawn up to potentially gain for the party one of these vehicles once they had reached beyond the testing phase. The characters then began to attempt to reconnect with their friends, Gunny and Ender, discovering that they had settled into a tavern nearby called the Drunken Cobbler for some frivolity. The group observed via their sending rings that apparently some sort of a disturbance had occurred within the tavern, and the raucous sound of yelling and screaming could be heard emanating from the rings. So we turn back time just a little bit. Gunthrul and Ender, you standing close to the bar, as you've moved about within this establishment, the Drunken Cobbler. It's not a huge tavern by any means. Simple. You have a bar that can accommodate a series of bar stools lined up against the northern wall. There's several tables of various sizes all around. Various individuals of mostly dwarven and human stature are milling about within the establishment. And Gunthrul, you had just finished, after enjoying some drinks and some food with Ender, pulling out your rug of smothering, which had been held within the bag of holding all this time, and throwing it onto one of the smaller dwarves that had been milling about the establishment. You watched a bit of glee in your heart as this rug of smothering wrapped itself around the dwarven man, and you can clearly observe as he struggles within, just chuckling to yourself. As you turn around and look at Ender, you felt a bit of a wave of just heat. Your skin felt hot. And suddenly, staring at your hands, you see now fur has erupted on your bare fingers. Your nails have elongated, and Ender is looking at you with a bit of shock in his face. The folks around you are now, some of them are gasping. The bartender behind the bar, this squat dwarven man with no beard, he's just sort of looking at you, and he's reaching for something from underneath the bar. And at the end of the bar, there is a large mastiff, which is currently growling. And you can just hear the growling of the mastiff as almost as a pin could be dropped and heard within this place. People are now staring at you.
What's happening?
Ender's going to spit out his beer, lift up the mug on the counter, and tell people that I'm going to speak into my ring and think of my party and say that Gunny has just been transformed into something. Hurry to and I'm going to name the pub that we're at.
The Drunken Cobbler.
The Drunken Cobbler Tavern.
As you do so, the raucous laughter, which you've been accustomed to since entering into the establishment, has been completely replaced with gasps and disgruntled muttering. And several of the patrons have fled the establishment or have begun to draw weapons and are now beginning to encircle and cut off the two of you. You can see now from these various individuals, mostly male, not wearing much armor that you can tell, possibly some chainmail, some leather armor. Most of them appear to be not holding weapons at this time, but they're getting closer to you and sort of encircling. And their eyes are shifting back and forth between your weretiger companion and yourself.
I'm gonna take off my cloak and drape it over my my bar stool and take a few steps and join my comp.
Okay. The tavern owner now yells out to one of the dwarven individuals that's milling about towards the exit and says, "Peter, go fetch the watch. Is anyone going to help that man?" And he's now gesturing towards the rug of smothering, which is inching along the floor and has been for several seconds now, like an inchworm. It's been going around catty corner, around bar stools, like moving them to the side. People are stepping away, trying to step over it as it gets closer to them. And you can hear this muffled muttering going on from within, just this struggle, like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh." And a few of the individuals, the dwarven individuals in the bar now, you could hear the clear sound of metal as swords and other weapons are being drawn, and they're getting closer to you now. They have you pinned in the corner against the bar, which is close to the eastern wall of the establishment. And you just hear this sort of a drawling voice now. This sound of sort of like a low voice speak out to the crowd. And you just hear this male voice say, "Well now, let's everyone just calm down for a moment. Let's all just take a breath." And you clearly see a man wearing a traveling cloak, brown traveling cloak, leather armor, and a wide-brimmed hat. He stands up from his chair, and he's readying a firearm of some sort in his hands. He's not pointing it in your direction. He's just sort of standing at the outer edge of this circle of individuals around you. And you see another woman now, a dwarven woman, just beyond him, who is seated at the table. She's resplendent in armor, metal armor, and she sets her tankard down on the table and gets up. And she begins to start moving towards the exit as if she's attempting to block it. And she is staring daggers across the way towards the both of you. And the man with the wide brim hat now begins to step forth. None of the other individuals in there, they're not making a move just yet, and they don't stop him from going within this circle of individuals that are around you. And the man steps forth and he says, "Well now, who might you be?" And he gestures towards you, Gunny, with his firearm, not aiming it at you, just sort of lazily moving his hand, aiming the weapon down towards the floor, but gesturing all the same. You can see that he's slowly, his eyes are squinted, and he's sort of looking around the room towards the other individuals who are sort of blocking your exit from the establishment. He continues to wait for you to answer, and you can hear now the muffled cries of the person within the rug of smother now are starting to die down now. Like before, it was this panic sort of, and now it's sort of dwindled now. You hear just this soft sound of the cloth rug.
Gunny, is that still you?
Am I under control of myself?
You have full control of your faculties. You just feel hot. Like whatever this was, you don't get a sense that you had any sort of control over this change, at least for the moment. And you can just feel like this prickling sensation, which you're not sure if it's the hair that has erupted from your hair follicles, your hair all over your body. You just feel uncomfortable in your armor. Like this is like someone added a layer of some sort of like a long underwear underneath your armor. You feel warmer. And the man with the wide brim hat is just sort of with a rakish grin, just sort of staring at you and says, "Cat got your tongue. I do believe these folk mean to cause you harm unless you call off your magic rug." And he gestures now with his other hand towards the rug of smothering, which is moving slightly, but the clear bundle within it is no longer moving. It has stopped.
I don't know what happened. It was a little painful and uncomfortable, but is it, looking down at the rug, is there some way that I can recall it, or do I just have to?
Well, You don't really have control over it. You kind of sort of kidnapped it to prevent it from hurting your friends.
That's kind of Eli's job.
And as you finish that sentence, one of the dwarven men now yell out, "We saw you! You sicked it on our boy! You're gonna pay for that, cat man!" And the gentleman now is getting closer. He's takes a step and a half towards you with his weapon, and he's sort of looking left and right at the gentlemen that are next to him, and you can see them clearly nodding at each other.
I'll look over at him and I'll flick open a nail and try to cut the rug open. It says it's going to take more than just the three of you little ones to do anything.
As you begin to get closer to the rug, the circle of people drawing closer, and you now have a weapon in your face. "Don't take another step!" And the wide-brimmed hat gentleman now says, "Clearly this is a misunderstanding. Please, if you will allow our furred friend to attend to this strange contraption, this construct." And the three dwarven guards now looking towards you first, Gunny, their eyes shifting towards you, Ender, and then back towards the man with the wide-brimmed hat, and they say, "We don't know you for nothing. You either free our friend, and there better not be a single thing wrong from him." And they start to back away now, allowing the little semicircle around you to open up so that you can move, Gunthrul.
How many are there in this little room that's pointed weapons?
Let's see. Currently, just giving a chance glance around. Behind you, you observe Burgle was reaching for something. You didn't see what it was. You see the three dwarven men, which are standing at attention, weapons drawn. You see the dwarven woman who is towards the exit now. And you see three human males who have stood up from their chairs. And you see, of course, this weird cowboy that is standing a few feet away from you and Ender now, and just sort of gesturing with his hand towards the three dwarven individuals who are armed. And there's a couple of other individuals within the place. Some of them are still seated. There's a man in the far corner, a big hulking slab of a man who's completely ignoring this entire exchange. And you just hear the wet smacking noise of him crunching into bone and meat. And out in the distance, through the sounds of just beyond, through the windows, you can now hear the sound of like a thrumming noise. Like, you're not sure exactly what it is, but you can only assume perhaps it might be the sounds of many feet on pavement or cobbled streets.
Am I able to open up this rug or not?
You can approach it and certainly try.
Can I
I'm
assist?
trying to rip it off with my newfound claw.
Okay.
Can I
Are
give him
you
advantage?
are you attacking it, or are you attempting to grapple it and pull it off?
Grapple it and pull it off.
Okay. Make a strength athletics check. And if you're assisting, the crowd doesn't seem to be menacing you at the moment. You can assist them. That would be with advantage. Now, here's an extra thing that I haven't mentioned yet. I have changed the settings so that when you roll checks and attacks, you'll now be encouraged to call that out, because no one will actually see your rolls going forward.
Oh.
Okay.
Except for you.
Except for you. Okay. That's not bad at all. You're able to grapple this thing, and as you pull it off of the man, it just sort of pulls off like a fruit roll-up, pulling off a piece of transparent plastic, and you just watch this dwarven man's body roll out onto the floor, motionless. And you are now holding this thing as it is struggling to get out of your grasp.
I stick it back in the bag.
Okay. Make another strength athletics check with advantage if Ender helps you hold the bag open.
Yeah.
Okay. you're very easily you're able to grab this thing, roll it up like you did once before. Oh, you can?
Yeah, him as well.
Yeah.
Might just be the attack rolls. You might be able to see like skill checks. I'll check that setting later. But
That's
you
okay.
are able to shove that into the bag, and with Ender assisting you, you're able to cinch it closed now.
Hold on.
And as soon as you back away with the rug, the 3 dwarven patrons now rush towards this body and begin checking him. And one of them, after looking over, just sort of panicked look on his face, he looks at the man's body. He reaches down, he touches his neck, and then for a few moments pass, like what seems forever, his head sort of tilts downward, his face sort of falls. And
Can I cast Spare the Dying or not?
He looks towards you. It looks towards the rest of you, and he says, "I'm afraid Gin is dead." You can try. You can attempt to. I mean, these guys you don't know. As you get closer to them, that's what you wish to do: is walk up and attempt to cast Spare the Dying.
Yep.
Is that a touch spell, or do you have to do that, or can you do that at range?
I'm looking. Hold on.
Because I can tell you that based on these 3, their demeanor, 2 of them that weren't touching the body have now turned and are looking at you and are readying their weapons. And the 3rd man is now cradling the body of this dwarf.
Hold on. I don't have a spell, Spare the Dying, so I won't cast it.
Okay.
I will cast... Do they look like they're about to attack me?
They look like they're getting ready to come right up on you, yeah.
I'll cast a spell. They're level Spirit Guardians.
Okay. So you cast Spirit Guardians?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That carpet killed that dwarf?
It sure did.
Alright, well, it looks like we're fighting, Gunny.
And as you begin to cast your spell, we will shift our attention over to the other 3 individuals within the group.
That's you guys. I hope you guys are wearing your Nikes.
After hearing Ender's call out through the ring, giving you a general description of where they are located currently, you're all running through the streets. The crowd, which was within the square before, has dispersed quite a bit. And you are now observing that there is another crowd, which seems to be stomping down the street with makeshift weapons in hand, southwest, towards the direction of the tavern which Ender described to you. And you just hear the sound of the crowd thrumming now, off in the distance.
Okay, I think we're going to need to find that Drunken Cobbler, and we're going to have to find it very quickly.
Make a... who would like to make a survival check? Who is leading? Who is leading this motley crew? I would assume after the way that Auri responded to the somewhat despondent conversation a few moments ago, that you would be, stomping off towards the location, assuming where they are located currently.
Yeah, I'll make the survival check.
Okay. All right. So yes, you're fairly certain that crowd of individuals that you can clearly see marching through the street southwest along the edges of the building, staying out of the middle of the cobbled street, are heading in the direction of where you believe this establishment is located.
I have a feeling we should follow those guys. They seem to know something we don't.
What do you think it is? Think they're all mad at Gunny?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that thing earlier, how that curse that could have turned Lathana into something, and then Ender said that he turned into something furry and that we needed to get there fast. I don't think it's going to be...
Do you think Ender's alright too?
Oh, whatever it is, I think we better run. Who's with me? And she starts taking off.
Let's go.
All right. Back within the Drunken Cobbler. Gunny, with a gesture of your hand and I believe your holy symbol, you summon these spectral beings into light. And what do they resemble?
Flying snakes.
Flying snakes.
Not to be mistaken as flying penises.
And do you have a room available that we can use? Or
Oh, a map? Yes, I do.
yes.
The fact that he has a map plan means that he planned for this fight, guys.
And if you two would like to roll initiative, that would be lovely.
This map isn't big enough on my screen. It only covered everything.
It only covered everything? Well, don't forget, you can adjust it. You right-click, you can resize it, and then stretch it to however big you would want it to be.
Thanks.
Okay, I love the tiger icon.
Oh, you like that?
I quite like that.
The cowboy. Can Ender drop his weapon and go and just cuddle up next to the...
Kenny, what now?
Can I cuddle up next to the puppy?
Can you cuddle up next to the puppy?
Yeah.
It's not the time. I mean, I completely am with that whole cuddle the puppy, but not right now.
Was that what you'd like to do on your action, Ender? On your turn?
I wonder if okay, in theory, right? I'm just gonna throw out a hypothetical situation here. I wonder if I could get everyone to drop their weapons and to cuddle next to the puppy with me. I mean, would that not be a better climax to this? Just a bunch of grown-ass adults curling up on the ground next to the puppy dog?
I'm still waiting for somebody to roll initiative.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ender didn't roll it either. He was talking about cuddling
Sorry
the puppy.
about that.
No worries.
I was. I had to resize the whole map because it covered my entire screen, and then I forgot. Oh,
Nice.
Holy
Ooh, holy shit. That was our first natural 20 of the night.
And that was after my spell goes off.
Correct. So your spell went off. You're able to have that go off. So I believe you get to choose who you want to attack with that, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's everyone.
Oh yeah, it will be necrotic damage.
Necrotic damage on everyone within the circle, or just on the three dwarven patrons?
Oh yeah, good point.
Who's the cowboy?
Who's the cowboy? That would be
Yes, is the cowboy.
That would be the gentleman in the wide-brimmed hat that was speaking and talking to the crowd.
I hear people breaking glasses in the background.
Oh god.
Can I?
Okay. So your spectral snakes all swirl out, swirling around, and you just watch as they pass through the bodies of these 3 dwarven men who were brandishing their weapons. And from behind you, just behind you, you can now hear the sound of just as the bartender now has fallen forth, slumping against the counter and now falling backwards onto the ground as they all die. And as that happens, from across the bar, near the entrance, you hear the woman, this dwarven woman now, pulls her weapon, and she points towards you and she yells, "Abomination!" And it looks like she's getting ready to charge forth towards you.
It's basically dwarven.
Which one is that
You're
one?
pretty cool.
That would be the individual who is all the way towards
Generally.
the southwest. Yes, the southwestern section. You also notice that the dog is dead. You just hear this sort of like a panicked and like. Unless you didn't target the dog, I'll understand if you decided not to target the dog.
Oh no, I targeted dog.
Okay,
No!
he's dead.
I'm a cat. It's a
What
dog.
what about the gentleman who was just minding his own business at the bar stool?
That got a chuckle out of me.
Oh, I got a line drawn to him too. He's that hit him too.
Okay. Okay. Well then. So you watch as you just hear the sounds of bodies thudding and hitting the floor. The cowboy now is sort of... He was smirking before, and he is very much so... His grin is wide, and he looks towards you and just sort of nods. And you watch as he holds up one of his firearms towards the ceiling, like he's getting ready to say something. Do you do anything else on your turn, Gunthrul? The other individuals within the bar are now scattering from their seats. The large man who is in the corner, the far northwestern corner of the bar, food is falling out of his mouth as his jaw hangs slack, just sort of dumbfounded.
If I hold my action, can I cast a spell, or do I have to say what spell I'm now?
You have to tell me what the spell is, correct. If you're going to ready a spell for a ready action. Just keep in mind, if you don't take your action, you'll lose that spell slot.
Okay, I'm gonna hold the spell.
Okay. Is that the end of your turn?
I'm gonna see what the cowboy is gonna say here before I cast the spell.
Okay. On the
That wasn't my turn.
cowboy's turn, he sort of whirls around and he looks towards the 3 individuals in the room, and he starts to speak in a strange language. And let's see if you understand this language. He yells this out. And as he does so, it looks like the 3 individuals that were seated sort of spread across this area are now spreading out and running towards the bodies and pulling the bodies up, picking them up, getting ready to look like they're getting to rifle through these bodies like their pockets. One of the individuals in the southeastern corner, he is now grabbing the human male by the throat, pushing him up against the wall, and the guy is saying, "No, no, no," and he's patting his pockets as this guy is rifling through his pockets. The guy is saying, "Shut up." And he looks back towards you, Gunthrul, and he says, "Much obliged." And as he does that now, he is going to run towards the eastern wall, and you hear this cacophonous boom as he fires his pistol and blows out this wide pane of glass. And he looks back and he yells and he says, "Come on, boys!" And you just watch as they look like they're all getting ready to follow after him. And as that is happening now, Jeremy is now looking like he's getting ready to stomp forward towards you and Ender. And that's what the cowboy does on his turn. He just sort of jumps out the window and is gone. Ender, you're watching as these somewhat armored individuals are currently running, and they seem to be avoiding Gunny's swirling spell. Like they know exactly that would probably not be a good idea to get involved within that swirling mist of flying snakes, and they're just focusing on the individuals within the bar that are outside of that radius.
Let's see. I'm going to look, the other two guys up here.
Okay.
The other two guys to the north, are they a threat?
They don't appear to be brandishing any weapons. There's a little gnome. He is currently looking like he's trying to... It looks like he's getting ready to scrabble towards that fireplace on the western wall.
I see. So,
And the
okay,
other
so
gentleman,
that being said,
the big, just sort of strapping, muscular man, he's just sort of staring at this, and he's sort of, his eyes are darting back and forth like he's following the snakes, the spectral snakes, as they're sort of swirling around in this dome within the establishment.
I wonder if I can instead spend my turn by paying that guy. Nope. Okay, that's not what Ender would do. I'm going to shoot a bow at Jeremy.
Oh, you're going to fire a bow at her?
I am, yes. My longbow.
Okay.
Okay. Good thing no one else saw that attack, right, guys?
Oh, you mean you're one?
Okay. Well, I guess you should fix that as soon as possible there, Jeremy.
Oh, is it not protect? Let me.
It's not protecting
It's not
my
an
shameful roll.
You can drop it
let's
in
see.
the dice bot.
Oh, here we go. I turned it off. Sorry, I don't know why it was.
So it
still
shouldn't
on.
count. You're right. So I'll just redo that attack.
No, that's
I
No,
agree,
we
I
all
agree.
saw it. We all saw it.
I
So
agree.
Ender, as you rush forth, and as you are getting ready to, you draw your arrow, you notch it into your bow, and it begins to fly. And as you do, you just manage to catch the look of this poor mastiff's face. It's sort of splayed out, its tongue lolling out as you're watching these little spectral snakes sort of pass through its body. And you're just a little shook at this sight, and your arrow
All right.
flies wide. Jeremy just sort of takes her weapon and bashes the arrow out of the air.
I'm gonna belch really loud, kick down the stool, and put my foot up on it and take another shot.
Okay. And hey,
You're-
can you see that attack?
Yes.
Oh, you can?
Mhm.
That is, I don't know why it's doing that.
Just
That's weird.
drop it in the dice tower.
Yeah, drop it in the dice tower going for it. I don't know why it's doing that.
Where's the dice tower? There's a dice tower? Has there always been a dice tower?
Yeah.
Where
What?
is the dice tower?
It should
Just have
be
to call it up.
should
Should be
be
in your.
Is that thing in the
Oh,
bottom
right.
right?
yeah, it looks like a
Oh, I
little
see it.
looks like a dice
Yeah.
tower.
His
Oh
little
my
dragon.
God. It is a dice tower. Has that been there the whole...
Yes.
Yeah. I just didn't know what it was. I
There
never
you-
moused over it.
There we
Alright, well,
go.
that's the end of my turn. Thank you for
Thank
the... I learned something today.
And quick succession, Jeremy bashes your arrows in like a lightning fast. This dwarven woman with her weapon, with her mace, she bashes the arrows out of the air, and she's now staring murder towards you. On the thugs' turns, they finish what they're doing, and the one that's closest to the window yells out, "Thank you, generous hosts!" And he runs through the window, jumping through the glass. And the rest of the gentlemen use their full movement to leap out the window.
Did he pass through my little swirling sphere?
Yes, so you can
Oh yeah.
throw damage on him if you like.
Oh, definitely.
At least one of them did. I'll say thug number 2 was dumb and he ran through it. Okay. That would be 5 damage on that gentleman. I will adjust that manually. For some reason, I don't think you had him targeted.
Got 1 and 2 targeted.
Yeah, for some reason it didn't go through. Oh wait, Eli was throwing something in there. Yeah, I saw that you threw it in the tower. For some reason, the damage didn't go on him. And the 2 men, you hear the sounds like, ow, fuck, as they're rushing through. One of them actually scratches his arm on the broken glass on the inside of the pane of the window as he falls out, sort of tumbles out the window. Dirty fighter!
And I'll go ahead and take my action.
Oh, okay.
I'll release my spell. Nothing.
Okay. That is a failure, so nothing goes off.
Correct, she's not held.
Okay. On Jerry's turn.
I hope she buys us a drink.
She is going to step forward a bit. She takes her mace, bashes it against, like, not heavy enough to cause any sort of a damage, but knocks it on her armor, and you watch as there is sort of like an outpouring of light that emits from her armor. And she casts Dispel Magic on your magical effect of your spiritual guardians. I believe you need to make...
Nope, 3rd level below is removed.
Okay. And Jerry is now pointing her mace at you, and she says, "Do not move, demon." And she's looking towards you, Ender, now, and she has the same look of grim determination. And outside now, you are hearing the sounds, that stomping sounds of, like, stomping. It's that thrumming seems to be getting, like, possibly closer. It's getting louder, whatever it is. And unless you plan on doing something else, she appears to be holding her ground near the exit.
Since I held my action, can I still go or not? Or move?
No, you used your action. Your held action was lost when you cast the spell and it failed.
And I cannot.
You don't get anything else, unfortunately.
Okay.
All right. On the thug's turn, you can just hear the sounds of sort of a cacophonous laughter as the thugs now have run off into the distance. And Gunthrul, it is your turn again.
I don't know why I found that funny.
Are you going out there?
Hold on, I'm gonna. Hold on one second. Cast a spell.
Okay. Are you casting a spell then running?
Yes.
Okay.
casting fog cloud. The room is filled. That area is filled with a fog.
Okay.
And I run out the window or the hole that the bad guy.
Okay. Ender, suddenly, almost immediately, your eyesight is just filled with this gaseous cloud, which just erupts.
I pull him my way.
Oh, you pull him with you?
Standing next to him, right? Yeah, I pull him with him.
Okay.
If he comes, if he resists, then he can stay.
If he resists, he can stay behind. Otherwise, Gunthrul pulled you out the window with him.
All right, I'm going to allow him to.
Okay, I would say that it would
if
take.
you allow that, then
I would say that it would take a strength check to pull him successfully out that window. Or no, I'll tell you what. It will take you, Ender, a dexterity check to successfully get out that window because it's kind of precarious. Because he's pulling onto you, adding forward momentum. Momentum.
all right, I'm gonna. All right, you said a dexterity save.
Dexterity check. Okay. You're able to get through. You feel the broken bits of glass scratching against your plate armor, or not your plate armor, your segmented armor plates as it scratches as you crawl through. And as you do, heading behind Gunny, the two of you begin to walk out of this alleyway. And at the moment, for all intents and purposes, it appears that you are out of combat.
Can we see where the thug and the cowboy went?
Make a perception check. Okay. Gunthrul, as you stumble out, pulling Ender behind you, rushing forth down the alleyway, and now looking out, you can see off in the distance a crowd of people which are currently rushing towards your position. Some of them appear to be carrying weapons, like pikes, and you can see that one individual has a torch lit. He's holding up over his head, and he's marching forth with this sort of manic look on his face. But you don't see the individuals who exited the establishment through the window. You especially don't see the cowboy. And as you're looking out now, you just hear the sound of doors bursting open. And as you look to your right, you see now that Jerilee has stomped out, coughing and hacking, and she's guiding a gnome man as she's walking out of the establishment, and it looks like she's tending to this man, and she begins hacking and coughing and now looking towards your direction. And she yells out, "Stop, demon!" What would you like to do?
Who ran out and said that?
Jerilee stumbled out, and she was holding a dwarven individual and pulls him out. You're now hearing the sound of Lithana yelling out of your ring. It's emitting from Ender's ring. And Lithana, feel free to say the thing that you want to say.
Ender, what's going on? Is Gunny okay? How are things going?
She doesn't have line of sight to you, Gunthrul, because you're around the corner. It's just more of she knows that the general direction of where you were, and it looked like she was just helping this person. And it's sort of like a passive yelling out, like, trying to like get you to stop just from the power of her voice.
We're leaving the tavern through the back. Also, Gunny is a cat man. Look for us.
Okay, well, look for you. Is everything all right?
Probably.
I will double move away from the tavern.
Okay. Ender, do you follow?
Yes.
Okay. As the two of you now are moving, do you move towards the crowd, or which way are you moving? You can see that across the road itself sort of like curves a bit, like it heads in sort of a northeastern way, what you can assume is northeastern. And split on either side of this wide cobblestone street, you see all the different businesses and some what you would assume to be apartments or houses along this thoroughfare. And you can see that besides this crowd that's off in the distance getting closer to you, there's not much of movement, except for in the far, far distance beyond, like, northeast. You can now see that as the sun is getting lower in the sky, the lights from the ever bright lanterns on the street are now sort of coming into sort of poof, 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 and one by one are starting to light up the streets on either side along the buildings towards the crowd, towards your position.
Is there like an alleyway across from us?
There is.
Yeah.
There are plenty of buildings that are within distance of where you are currently on the northwestern side of this long cobblestone street. You can also run across the cobblestone street towards the southeastern side of the street.
Hold on 1 second. The building, the map ends right here. So is there a building immediately to our left?
Yes, you were in an alleyway, so there is a building immediately to your left, or to your left, to your and Ender's left.
I grab Ender and say, "Hang on!"
Hello.
And I leap to the top of the building.
Okay, make a strength athletics check.
I activate my boots of flying, and I fly up there with Ender.
Okay.
But I make it look like a
Oh
leap.
shit! Should I roll a strength check to see if I can hold on? I'll just grab him by the tail.
Well, I put my arm around you, and I said, "Hold on."
Okay.
And we leap.
he looked at you and he said, "Hold on, spider monkey," and he just went whoosh. You just watch as all of a sudden your furry companion Ender grabs you around the waist, pulls you in close, and then you two rocket up into the air towards the roof of this building.
And I made it look like I jump.
And you made it look like a jump. No, the two of you just sort of hover for a moment, and then you're on the bop on the top of this this rooftop. And as you can hear now this sounds, this cacophonous search everywhere, search down the alleyways. And you can now hear the sound of the crowd. Eli, Lithana, and Auri, from your perspective now, you can just see this crowd, which is sort of descending on the position of where this Drunken Cobbler establishment was. And from behind you now, you can all hear the thunderous sound of hooves on the street as this series of armored individuals are now riding through the center of the cobbled street, seeming to just blow past this angry crowd, which is currently almost to the Drunken Cobbler. And one of them nearly hits you, Eli, as it runs past.
Whoa. They're going fast.
I stop concentrating on the fog, so it will dissipate.
Okay.
Well, it'll linger until...
From your position, looking out, you can still see there's still a bit of sunlight. So you can still see where, like, a bit of that fog is sort of creeping out. Like, some of it creeps out the broken window from the alleyway if you look down. You can hear sort of very lightly the sounds of coughing as these the individuals that were still within the establishment obviously came out of the building. And you can now hear the sounds of this woman yelling out. As you can now hear the thunderous sound of hoofbeats as several armored horses all descend upon the outer southern facade of this place. And you can now hear the sound of an individual who is yelling out. And it's kind of faint. It's a little difficult for you to hear, but it sounds something along the lines of, "What's going on here?" And then there's just this muttering, the sound of a man and a woman speaking. You can hear the sound of the horses as they're coming to a stop. The sound of armor, the foley of the armor as it's rattling as these individuals, some of them appear to be coming off of their horses onto the ground, possibly going into the establishment. And Eli, Lathana, Aura, you watch as you can see now the crowd is beginning to gather outside of the cobbler. And you can now see that they're sort of being held back by these armed individuals with these long staffs and pikes. And they're holding back the crowd. The crowd is angry. They're yelling. It's cacophonous, but they're not being allowed to go into the establishment. They're just standing there. And from your location in the cobbled street, depending on what you decide to do next, you're just sort of several yards behind them as you run up on the scene.
Oh boy, this does not look good.
Is there a spell shop open this late?
I don't know. What do I look like? An encyclopedia?
We're in a hard position here. Magic is my thing, and if it rides magic, we can easily get out of the situation.
Well, unless you have something or need to buy something that can find those two for you, I don't know how far it's going to get us in this moment.
I can find those two.
Okay, let's work on that first.
I'm gonna point in one direction. I'm gonna cast message.
Okay.
If no response, I'm gonna turn another direction, cast message.
You also have your ring.
Well, the message also gives me the direction.
Oh, okay. Make an Arcana check.
Arcana.
Okay.
27.
Almost immediately, Eli, you get a sense from where you're currently standing of almost immediately western and a bit above. And you get a sense of your companions, whoever you messaged. Now, of course,
I messaged Gunny.
Okay.
Hello, Gunny. You can, we're looking for you. Where are you? Only you can hear this in your mind. You can reply to this message.
After the tone, beep.
Beep.
Purr.
I'm gonna cast message that said, I don't speak cat, but is Gunny near you? 2 purrs. If he's not, not Gunny. If Ender's near you, 2 purrs.
Yeah, we're moving north.
I'll cast it again. You're moving north. I can help you if you let me.
But how far away do you stay from the crowd, Eli, as you and your companions are standing there? And what are the rest of you doing? What are you doing, Lathana?
We better. We have our own business to take care of. Better not get caught up in this. Let's.
As you say that, Lathana, looking beyond Eli towards this crowd, a few of the individuals are now starting to turn around. Like, you could see that they were speaking. Some of them, like in groups, various groups of the crowd were speaking sort of animatedly. And now a couple of them are now looking immediately in your three's direction. And it looks like the crowd is starting to break up a bit. And a few of them are starting to come towards you. And you just see this man now. He's probably about 40 yards away from you. And he just sort of yells out. He says, "Oi! You three! Newcomers! Haven't seen your faces around before. What do you know about all this?" And this sort of a gangly man. He's about 6'6", not like thick. He's got a little heavy around the midsection. He's dressed sort of poorly. His hair is really scraggly, almost like a straw, just pointing out in various different directions. And he's currently holding a pike in his hand. It looks like it's broken. Like a third of the wooden shaft of this pike is broken off at the bottom and jagged. And as he's walking towards, you can now see that there is a heavyset gentleman balding on top who is following behind him, and then a much younger individual, couldn't be more than maybe 15 or 16 years old, who is just sort of following behind these two men with like a worried look on his face. "I asked you a question." And he continues to walk towards you, closing the distance very quickly with these two behind.
Yes, sir. It's great to meet you. My name is Hope. Hope. And these are my friends. In fact, we are in town. We are investigators. So, what seems to be the problem here? We just came here. I heard it was a good inn, and I'm not sure what's going on. What's going on here?
I'll tell you what's going on. A whole bunch of folk just got murdered back at the tavern. You know anything about that? And he's sort of eyeing you. He sort of shifts his face. He's a little bit taller than you, so he's sort of leaning over a bit, getting close to you. His breath is terrible. You can smell the stench of like a bourbon or some sort of alcohol in his breath. And
Murdered, and she's actually genuinely shocked.
And he now is sort of like pointing to you and says, I'll bet the constable will want to have a conversation with you three. And he now turns to the younger boy and the heavyset man. He says, don't let them leave. I'll be right back. And he now turns tail and starts walking back towards the crowd and back towards the city guard. And this heavyset man now, he's sort of like, he's got like a belt which is literally just made out of a braided rope. And he's been sort of pulling on it. And he now pulls it off from around his waist, and he's taking it off, and you can just see that now he starts very quickly festooning it into a hangman's knot. And this little boy now, he sort of lets out sort of like a yelp when he does so. And he just says, Father, what's going on? Quiet, Liam. No funny business, you three.
In fact, we'd very much like to talk to the constable. We were just working a case with the city, and, well, seems another one has come up. We'd be happy to...
And the man just sort of looks at you, sort of has his head tilted to the side, like sort of like a, right. You can roll a deception check if you like.
She's kind of telling the truth, though.
True, make a persuasion check.
Oh, gosh. Okay, no, she's lying.
Whoa!
That was insane looking.
That was an amazing roll.
Did you see that? It just kind of spun around.
Yeah.
That's
What
awesome.
is that suspense?
He got the spins tonight. So the man just sort of looks at you, sort of like his eyes squinting a bit, and he's like sort of nodding his head. The 16-year-old boy now, he's sort of like, he looks at you, looks at his father, and looks back to you, and immediately just color just fills his cheeks, and he sort of has this weird sort of like a half grin as he's looking at you, and he reaches up, starts rubbing the back of his head, and he says, that sounds like very important work, miss. What did you say your name was?
My name is Hope.
Hope.
And these are my colleagues, and she just gestures to them.
And the balding man now says, what are your names? And he gestures towards you, Eli, first.
I'm Al.
He looks at you, Al, and then he looks towards Owry and says, and what's your name, lass?
Lily.
Lily. That's a pretty name. Well, if you want to follow us, if you want to talk to the constable, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk to you. And the man now sort of reaches out to grab your elbow, Hope. I say with quotation marks. And like he's sort of like, not forcefully, just sort of gingerly guiding you. Now, from the top of the roof, Gunny and Ender, what are you two doing? You said you're going to continue to move north?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Building to building, rooftop.
Okay.
I'm also asking Gunny. So, Gunny, I can't help but notice, but you got a winter...
You cut off, sorry.
You got a winter coat.
I know it itches too. I don't know what the problem is. What? We'll worry about that once we get away.
And Gunny's voice is very throaty. When he's not speaking, as he's breathing, there's sort of like a deep rumbling purr, which you're not sure. You can't really gauge it whether or not this is like a resting state for him or if he's anxious. But you are continually surprised as Gunthrul and you are just sort of leaping on rooftops away from the scene of the Drunken Cobbler.
I'm going to take this time and do a perception roll and see if we have any
If you have any what?
bogeys, any tailors, anyone following up. I wouldn't see though.
Looking around, you just seem to be mesmerized by this exhilarating feeling of the wind as you're being... It's been very hot. You're in the middle of summer, so this bit of wind that whooshes past you as you are grabbed by Gunny and he hurls across the tops of these rooftops. And back on the ground now, at the site of the Drunken Cobbler, Eli, Lithana, and Auri, with your assumed names, you now are... The crowd is seeming to disperse somewhat curmudgeonly, but they're allowing you to get through. And you can see this series of guard. You can see now 8 armored war horses, which are lined up and tacked off onto the post. And you can see now 8 armored individuals. Several of them are sort of dispersed around, like keeping the crowd calm. And you can see another much more armored man who is speaking to an armored dwarven woman. And you can hear them now as you come up. You can hear the sound. I saw it with my own eyes. He slaughtered them using dark magic. Haven't seen a were in these parts in quite some time. I'm sure the Sovereign Host and the Silver Flame will want to look into this immediately. And the man now, sort of like a rumblings, like, is there anyone else inside that need assistance? We'll begin hauling the dead out as soon as possible, as soon as we clear and settle this area. And as the man begins to turn around, he looks in the direction of the 3 of you as you're on the outskirts of this crowd, passing through past the guard. You 3. Come here.
Yes. Yes, sir.
The man here says that you were coming to talk to me. Or should I say, he was going to fetch you, but apparently you decided to come on your own free will. I don't know you 3. You're new to these parts. What are you doing in my town? My city?
Believe it or not, we came to investigate other matters. And, well, we are investigators. I'm Hope. This is Al and this is Lily. And we were just speaking with, you saw those, what do you call them? Those special flying car things that came through here.
The envoy from the Castle and the Corp, yes. I know of them.
Yes.
What of it?
We had come to help investigate some of their matters, and we heard that the inn or that this happened was a good place to stop, and we were on our way, and so the crowds, and well, I guess we can take on another case if we have to.
Make a persuasion check.
Oh gosh,
that's a lot of information you're laying on him. He's just sort of eyeballing you. The
can
3
I
of
be
you.
lying instead?
You want to? well, before you said you weren't lying, so
Yeah.
Well, I was like kind of half lying, but now I'm like more like right.
Let's stick with
lie about her name.
We'll stick with persuasion for this check.
Oh gosh, guys.
Drop it in a tower.
Hey, that's actually not bad. So this armored gentleman now, he has sort of like a deep burnt umber colored skin, like reddish hair. His face is tanned leathery face, an older man. And he just sort of looks towards you and he says, Well, that's the castle and the corpse business and your business, I imagine. I'm afraid that the tavern is closed. As you can see, there's a bit of some killings here. Perhaps you can help us with this other matter. We're looking for 2 suspects. One appeared to be a half-orc of some sort, wearing some sort of armor plating. And he seemed to be armed with a bow and possibly some other weapons. Jeremy here has described that the other man that apparently appeared to be a very tall humanoid person, but appears to be a were-tiger. So if you have any information of either of these individuals, or if you see them in your travels, please alert a guard immediately.
We will, sir. But he turns to Lathana. We do have very busy matters to attend. We're pretty busy. I don't think we could take another case.
And the guard now turns around and looks towards Jeremy, and Jeremy speaks up and says, "If you find him, that filthy flea-bitten furbag, don't kill him. And if you do, I expect proof of the kill."
Yes. Don't worry. If we see him, we'll let you know immediately. Thank you.
Well, actually, we are on very important business. That is very time sensitive.
Piss off then! And the woman, who clearly has the vestments of a cleric, now turns around and she is tending to the wounds of this gnomish man who is still hacking his lungs out in front of her, sitting on the ground. And the guard now, he says, "My name is Curlin Vosh. Ask for me if you have any information, please. If not, please don't interfere in our investigations."
Sure. Thank you.
And with that, the crowd now, which seems to be starting to disperse now, you've been hearing the sounds of the guards sort of yelling out to them, just, "Go on home! There's nothing to see here anymore!" And you can now hear the clip-clop as you look around. You can see off in the distance, really far away, you can see a covered wagon, which is slowly being pulled up towards this area. It's still quite a ways away. And you can hear where the guard says, "Oh, good. They're here for the bodies."
I'm going to look around. Is there any shops open at all at this time of night?
Make a perception check.
What?
So Eli, looking across the way, you can see what appears to be...
That was a performance check.
That was a performance check. Make a perception check. Okay.
I almost feel bad about that.
They're right next to each other. I thought I clicked on the right one.
Eli, as you stare out, your eyes go a little hazy, and you sort of like get this smell of like this horrible sort of like a excrement, and you just turn and you look. As you turn around, the armored horse, which is immediately behind you, lifts up its tail and just fires out just this stream of excrement all over you. And you try to sidestep it, but you were looking out across the street to all the buildings, trying to make out an establishment, and you didn't have enough time to get out of the way. Your cloak is now completely covered in this foul-smelling substance, and you just hear the horse just sort of nickers and just like,
That's absolutely disgusting. I'm gonna cast prestidigitation on myself.
And you can now hear some of the guards are chuckling in the background.
I'll turn around. Excuse me. Is there any shops open this late at night? This time of night?
The other guard, which is closer to Curlin now, it says, Well, and he's sort of looking up in the sky. The light from the sun setting now. It's getting really dark now. You could just see the amber glow of the sun on the horizon as it's the crusting and going down. And he says, well, most places that are open would be like this, the tavern. There's probably a couple of taverns that are open, but most shops close pretty early around these parts. Folks don't stay open. We don't get nearly the same amount of traffic that, city folk get from the city of towers or wherever you folk are from. Best check in the morning if I were you. There's a place right around the corner. It's called the Pink Flumph.
Okay. Pink Flumph.
Yes.
I'll remember that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. I'll wave to him and I'll turn around. Oh, time to get the car. As I walk by.
Now, Mackenzie explained to you that the Totorum, the horseless carriage, would be held at the House Orion facility. Not the exact same building which was broken into, but one that is within that same block. And she herself said that she was going to take the other vehicle, and she was leaving almost immediately after she left the most of you. As soon as she got things like situated. And she gave you instructions saying that you could claim the vehicle at any time. But to attempt to get to Trollenport within 5 days.
All right. So here's the plan. I kind of gather Asana and Ari close as we walk far away from everybody and look around, check. All right, so we got to get the car. We drive the car, maybe meet them somewhere. Cast invisibility, we move them in the car and leave town immediately. Unless you want the guards to, find them. What do you think of the plan?
What do you think, Ari?
I think we definitely need to get out of here. If there's any way we can disguise either of them, that might help. But they said that he's a were-tiger, so Gunny might not be very obvious when he's not in his tiger form.
Hence the invisibility.
Right.
I am able to disguise one person.
Well, they definitely saw Ender's face.
Yes, I am able to cast invisibility on both of them. They won't be seen.
My only
I'm going to
question
talk
is-
into the ring. Hey guys, you there?
Oh, we're here. You want to talk now?
Yes, we are. We're currently flying above the rooftops. We went north from the
Flying?
Leaping.
hopping, leaping.
So, meet us at the north gates. We'll grab the car and pick you up.
There's
By
actually
no means let any guards see you.
There's actually
Absolutely not.
no northern gate in the city. It is the eastern gate.
Okay,
The-
never mind.
The road, the road within the city sort of curves about. It continues on northeast around the keep, which is centered in the middle of the city, which you could clearly see even with the sun going down. You can see the tall keep, the center of the city.
Make sure you're very quiet and stealthy. Meet us at the east gate. We will leave immediately.
Yeah, so here's the situation. We told them that we are investigators. We will investigate your case. But if we are seen in the same place, we're screwed. And really, did you guys have to really go out and murder people? I get it. I murder people for a job, but not just willy-nilly killing people everywhere.
Who did you kill and why? What happened?
Oh, I mean, I'm a bounty hunter, so...
No, I mean them.
Oh,
These
them,
two. They
yes.
killed people at a bar.
Well, I read in books that bar fights get out of hand. I've just never been in one myself, but Gunny's a big man. He tries to hug people, and how Lathana stabbed him. Probably happened in the bar too.
Well,
Eli,
Lana stabbed me.
Oh yeah, that's true.
People-
She was attempting to stab him.
People don't die during bar fights. It's like, at least like one person, but not tens. Ugh. Just stay out of sight, please.
Well, let's go for the car.
How far do you guys think their reach is, these guards, though?
The whole city, so they better be careful, or we're gonna be bailing them out of jail.
Oh, I don't think they're going to keep Gunny in jail for very long if they get him.
Just out of curiosity, where are you having this conversation? Are you having it right there in front of these guards?
No. Remember I said that we walked far away from everybody?
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I think at this point, if you guys would like to take a short break, you can. Get a drink, go to the bathroom.
Oh, I'd love to use the restroom. Thank you.
Hey.
It's a good idea.
And when you come back, Gunthrul, if you'd be so kind as to roll a Constitution saving throw.
4.
You're not sure.
So we'll make our way east.
Okay.
I guess we're heading east now. Yeah. Can we
East-
see a? Do you happen to have a map of this area?
I do not. This is all theater of the mind. So, Ender, as you and Gunthrul are just sort of continuing across the rooftops, you've been noticing that Gunny is leaving behind a trail of hair that is just falling off of him in copious amounts. His face has begun shifting. It's sort of strange because, like, you see him squinting as his eyes are shifting and morphing. His face, his jaw is now shrinking. You can actually hear this popping noise of bone shifting within his body. And after a brief amount of time, not too long, a minute or so, you can see now that Gunthrul is back to his Goliath stature. He's no longer this cat person.
I'll leap down to the street proper and tell him that I can't continue to. And start walking towards the east gate.
Okay. And what about Eli, Lithana, and Auri? What are you guys doing?
We're gonna go get the car.
Okay. So you head back towards House Orion storage facility. Once you arrive there is a city guard there, and he notices and recognizes you from before, and he allows you to collect the vehicle.
All right, everybody in. Let's go.
I called shot.
Shotgun? Is there really a shotgun, though, to a vehicle that's basically like sitting in a gondola?
In my mind.
So once you get into the vehicle, Eli, you remembering the instructions that Mackenzie gave you, you see that the Atlas Slate is not much different from the ones that you've seen within Sharn. It has an overland map of the landscape around you, and you can see where you are currently located within Zilspar. You can see the map is currently sort of zoomed in, and you can see almost like this topographical, almost a three-dimensional display of the buildings around you and the streets, which are just outside of the House Orion storage facility.
I'm going to program it to the east gate.
Okay. If Lithana and Auri are agreeable to board the vehicle, then you hear the elemental engine, which is located towards the rear of the vehicle. You can hear it powering up this sort of a gentle thrumming noise, and the vehicle suddenly leaps into life, rushing out of the open gate of this House Orion storage facility, and immediately it begins to guide itself through the cobblestone streets within the night air, the early night air now wicking against your skin as the vehicle begins to zoom through the streets. And in a short amount of time, you make your way towards the outskirts of the city, towards the eastern gate, which is currently closed. You can see different guards which are currently standing at the gate. One specifically at the smaller entrance to the gate, which you can see appears to be large enough to let through just a carriage-sized vehicle. So the vehicle that you're riding in could potentially fit through it. And as the vehicle comes to a stop, to the point on the device that you guided it to, you can now hear one of the guardsmen sort of hold his hand and says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Where do you think you're going with that contraption?"
I open the door. Hello. Yes. We're allowed to, take this to. We got permission.
Oh, who gave you permission?
Mackenzie?
Yes.
You have
Take him to the port.
some sort of paperwork or something that says that you're allowed to take this beyond the city limits?
Yes, and Lathona pulls out the contract.
Okay. As you pull out this sheaflet of paper and begin to pull it out, Gunny and Ender, what are you two doing? I assume you've been...
We are trying to keep a low profile on our way east.
Okay. You're no longer on the rooftops. Gunthrul dropped
We are.
down. Okay.
We're on the streets.
All right. As you're passing through the streets, it takes you some time, but as you get towards the eastern gate, you can see now this four-wheeled carriage, which is currently idling at the city gates, the eastern gate. And you could just make out the familiar sight of Auri's golden hair sort of shining in the torchlight, the ever-bright lantern, which is a few yards away.
We see them conversing with the guard.
Yes, there's currently two guardsmen. One of them is standing at attention at a post nearby, and this other one is standing on the side of this vehicle, appearing to converse with your three companions.
All right, I'm going to talk into my ring. Hey, you guys there? We're at your...
There is a sound that erupts from your ring as you are talking to the guard, and he goes, "What's that?"
Oh, it's a communication device. Our boss is calling us. Excuse me, Jonathan, if you could finish the paperwork with the god. Excuse me.
Wait, did you just call her Lathonathan?
Lathana?
Sorry.
Lathonathan.
Lathonathan.
Also wrong name right now.
Her middle name is Thin.
Hey, Lathana.
Lathonathan.
Hope Lathonathan. I buy it.
He'll excuse himself and walk kind of back and act like he's talking. And do I see them in a dark alley? Kind of look out. What are you?
We definitely walked to a dark alley.
Well, that's entirely up to... Yeah, that's entirely up to Gunny and Ender. Apparently Gunny's walking in the middle of the road. And as the two of them begin to approach the vehicle now, Ender and Gunthrul, you now see that this vehicle, the surface of the vehicle, it's very strange. Like, you're used to seeing carriages made out of wood and banded iron. This is a smooth and sleek surface, shiny, and it appears to pick up the light from ever-bright torches a few yards away, and just sort of you can see the light sort of shining off of the edges of this thing. It's smooth and sleek like a bedsheet, and it's shaped in sort of curved areas around it. You can see that there's a canopy that covers the top of this carriage section, the the interior section, and there is a transparent glass on the front and the rear of the vehicle. And you can now see Eli, Lithana, and Auri clearly standing there looking over in your direction if you approach the vehicle and announce yourselves.
Walk by, ignore them, try to leave the city.
Oh, you're going to walk towards the gate?
Well,
Okay.
I was gonna walk towards them, act like I'm talking to my boss in the ring. As I see them within 30 feet, I'm gonna cast invisibility on both of them.
Once we're out of eye shot of any guards.
Well, the guard is currently following you, Eli.
Oh, he's following me?
Yes, he's been walking with you. You haven't finished your conversation with him.
No, I told him that I excused myself and told Lafana to finish up the paperwork and stuff. The boss is calling.
Yes, here is the paperwork. You see her signature.
And the guard sort of looks in your direction, and he looks beyond you, and it looks like he wants to say something for a moment, and then he turns his attention back to you, Lithana, and he's looking at your paperwork that you've presented to him. And
I turn and
Eli, you say you turned and you cast invisibility on them both?
yeah. Once I see the guard looks away, looks, when both guards aren't looking, I'm gonna cast invisibility on both of
Sure.
them, not on me.
Okay. The other guard doesn't appear to really be looking in your direction. He seems to be mesmerized by the vehicle, just sort of looking at from the wheels to the canopy, the frame of the vehicle. And there's sort of a light buzzing noise coming from the rear of the vehicle, wherever this elemental engine, whatever propels this vehicle, is located.
And as I walk and I stop, and I send the ring far, like the guard and Lathana are talking. And, quickly get inside. And I turn around and I walk back to the car. And I tell them they're invisible. And whisper in the ring.
Okay. Eli, as you approach, Lathana is now finished up with the guard. He is gesturing over to the gentleman who's standing at a guard post station. And you can now hear the sound of this ratcheting and cogs turning as this intersection of this large gate is now starting to lift up from a series of pulleys and levers. And the guard says, "Be on your way, be careful on the road, it's dark out."
Oh, thank you. And I'm gonna do like an inspection around the car, just make sure everything's okay. Delay, have the door open, kind of just gotta make sure everything's good before a long travel. And that leaves time for them, Gunny and Ender, to get in the car.
Okay.
I'm gonna look at the tires and stuff like that. Just inspecting, for a long journey.
It's not too dissimilar from a carriage, what you're used to. The wheels seem to be about the same style, long, wide-spoked in the back. The two front wheels are a bit smaller than the rear wheels.
I whisper in the ring, "Are you inside yet?"
Yeah, Ender is inside.
All right. He makes his last check, walks around, looks at the engine for a minute, and then goes and gets inside, shuts the door, and we're off.
Okay.
Right to the location.
The vehicle just sort of whisks off into the distance, and you can now hear the sounds of the night, the sounds of creatures around you, and the sound of the wind whooshing past your face as you are all rushing towards down the road. There is, as you begin to move forward, on the front of the vehicle, you watch as these two compartments, sort of oval-shaped compartments, now flip up, and two Everbright lanterns now shine out a very bright yellowish light onto the road in front of you.
thought this was pretty cool. I like this thing.
And after a while, you're now beyond the outskirts of the city, traveling down the road off towards the east, away from Zilspar.
I'll drop invisibility now. And they're sitting there in the car.
And Gunthrul is sitting now within this carriage. You are feeling for the first time the exhilaration of the wind just sort of whipping past you. It's similar to that of driving with all the windows down on the highway.
Feels like we're right in the clouds again, but bumpy.
Yeah, I would say yes to you, Gunthrul. It does feel like you're on an airship in a way. And the carriage just sort of like bobs a bit as you're traveling down the road, hitting the somewhat rough surface of the road.
I believe, Ari, you had a lot to say to them. And Eli looks at Ari.
My first question is, what happened? Also, okay, no, that's not even the first question. Does that hurt, or does it itch any, or what is it like?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
It hurts when I change. Does it hurt you when you change?
No, not at all. Can you will it to change, or?
I don't know. First time it happened. Don't know.
Fascinating.
I believe she called him a weird
change, you just slowly change. I like pop joints and bones and hear things snap and crackle and pop and.
Oh no, not at all. That sounds awful.
Yeah, Gunny, have you always been able to turn into this cat person?
Well, I think it's just the will of my God. You know, they grant us with boons throughout our time.
Why wouldn't it be a snake then? Why a tiger?
I'll have to ask when I may have the ability.
So, are you still in complete control of your mind when you're, a tiger?
I'm a little irritated, a little scratchy. Get a flea bug in my ear every once in a while, but yeah, it's pretty much got control.
Okay, back to the root question. Why did you guys ignore me?
I don't know what you mean. Right?
We were calling for you for over an hour.
I guess we weren't listening. Were you listening, Gunny?
I remember taking our rings off for a while.
You took them off?
I didn't put mine back on. Well, I didn't even put mine back on. Ender's got mine.
Oh, God.
I think it's okay to say that it was just a misunderstanding.
From this point forward, next time I call you and say, hey, we have an emergency going on, maybe you should listen?
Oh, you had an emergency going on?
Well, not necessarily an emergency, but we did find this vehicle we're sitting in right now. Well, we got access to it because the other car we found with the dead body. There's a lot you missed.
Well, we were sitting around and talking, Ender and I, and then next thing you know, you guys are gone. We're like, what happened to them? And we're like, well, I guess we'll go get it. So we went to the bar for
Gunny,
an hour.
Aren't we the doers? And they're just the thinkers, right? See, if you leave us alone in a bar, we're going to end up getting into trouble. We leave you guys alone in the city, you're going to end up with a free vehicle. I think this all went according to...
But you ended up murdering people in a tavern. I don't think this went according to plan. And now he's a wanted man. I think you're both wanted men.
Yeah,
Excuse me. It was not murder. It was self-defense. They drew weapons at us, threatened to kill us.
You mean
we're
wanted men
with
in
an
Catman?
aggressive act?
Okay. Slow down. Tell us exactly what happened.
I think
this was a blur to me. You tell her, Ender.
I think it was just a misunderstanding. Someone challenged Gunny in the bar. Gunny won that challenge. Unfortunately, doing so, he might have hurt a guy lethally. And the rest of the bar got angry at us, and so we escaped. There's a couple people that got hurt, but I mean, well, the only other option we had was to kill or be killed.
But I will say, I didn't touch the guy at all.
Yeah, you're right. Neither one of us did any harm with our hands.
So you killed him with magic.
Yeah, Gunny did it, and now I'm going to sit over on Ari's side.
So, I just want to pitch in here. You said a misunderstanding. Usually, misunderstandings don't end with dead bodies. But, I never experienced a misunderstanding, so.
Well, when someone draws a weapon at you and says that they're going to kill you and step towards you like they're going to hurt you, you have to react, right?
I mean, we did hear some things. They said that you're an abomination. This lady that was talking, we pretended like we didn't know you guys, like we were really cool spies or something. But she called you a demon.
Said you were some kind of weird tiger.
Weird tiger. Yeah, never heard of it.
Yes. I believe,
and I think everybody there was prejudiced.
Yes, the Silver Flame don't like your kind. Have you always been this way? I need to find a library in the new city, and maybe I can read up upon this. But with my limited knowledge, I remember just a little bit.
Sorry,
the Silver
but,
Flame hate your kind.
No, the Silver Flame was founded from my religion. We're part of the Silver Flames. I don't get your understanding. If my God wills it, then, that's the way it happens.
Then why did that other cleric seem so angry at you?
What cleric?
Yeah, she wanted you dead, man. And she wanted us to keep you alive just for her to kill you. Would you leave her hanging or something? You denied Laquatus?
Lithana just looks over to Eli.
He refused to let her hold his sack.
Hey man, I never had a woman want me dead like that. She was very unhappy.
Never had a woman like that? Wait until you get married.
So was that everything that happened? You just killed a couple people?
I'm sure Ender covered it all.
All right.
Oh, except for the thieves, but he didn't talk about them.
Oh, there were thieves. Yes.
What thieves?
The thieves that beat everybody up, stole their money, robbed their dead bodies, and killed people, and ran out the window and blew up the wall. And it was pretty cool.
Well, you should have told us about the thieves earlier, and I could have swung this in your a better direction, but no. Thanks to you, we'll never be able to go back to that town again.
Yeah.
You?
I thought you said this town was nothing but a blip.
Oh yeah, it's just a blip, so it won't hurt us.
Stop your whining.
Was there anyone there that you think might try and find you elsewhere, or do you think it's just contained to that city?
Probably just contained to that city, unless that, cleric really, wants some action from me.
Well, I believe you're hunted because that cleric really didn't like you, and she was going to send us out to kill you or find you, but we denied her.
But does she know who I am?
No. She knows I point at Ender. She said something about your face, though. I think she saw your face pretty good.
She must have been staring at you when she was knocking your arrows out of the way.
Wait. You fired arrows at her?
Oh, not me.
Yeah. They weren't fire arrows. I just was protecting Gun.
Ari, I think you should say a few things to that man. He fired arrows at a cleric. You're in big trouble.
He's the one that attacked her. I didn't do
Well, clerics aren't
I attack the one
necessarily
who's attacking it.
my grounds of protection, but still, I don't think you should have fired arrows at anybody without knowing what was going on, especially if she was just mad because Gunny wouldn't sleep with her. Is that what you guys said? Is that the stuff?
Basically.
Yeah, you can't be shooting arrows and bad juju at somebody when,
Nithana just has her hands behind her head. She's just leaning back and rolling the dice. Oh, this is well and good, and we can put it behind us. Believe me, I'd put more bodies down than probably any of you. But biggest thing is we gotta stick to the task, and I still have to get back to Sharn in one piece.
As you're leaning back, Lithana, in the area where you're seated, almost as if reacting to the motion of you sort of stretching your body out, below your calves and your legs now, this section where you're seating on sort of stretches out towards that podium, which is centered in the middle of the carriage area of the tutorum. And you're now somewhat reclining. It's almost like a bed-like pod has now curled around you. And if you upright yourself, you notice that it, almost responding to you, it begins to morph back into the normal seated position. Like just that area seems to recline as you tilted your body back, your head back, your arms up. And the interior, like, upholstery of it's very nice, very soft. It's very comforting against your skin. It's quite possibly the softest material that you've ever reclined on in terms of like a carriage. It's very similar to a bed, like the upholstery of a mattress.
Oh, this is nice.
And there is a sort of a chiming noise. Eli, did you program it to take you all to Trollenport, or what did you program it to do?
Yeah, I programmed it to take us all the way to Trollenport.
Okay. There is a chiming noise and an audible sound of a man's voice emits from the center podium. And you now hear the sound of a man's voice that says, "Leaving Zilspar, nearest landmark, Argonth. We will reach within 1 day's travel." And you can see now on the map, near the border between Brayland and Zalargo now, you see an illuminated dot, which says Argonth.
Well, isn't that a sexy voice?
And Lithana, you remember that voice. It sounds like someone very familiar to you.
And then she shakes herself. Oh my gosh. Never.
Where on earth did it come from? I'm just kind of looking around, trying to figure out where the voice came from. Is there another man in here?
No. That's my
Oh, your cousin made all this cool stuff?
Yeah.
Is your cousin tiny and hiding up there somewhere?
Well, that would be very convenient if it was, but no. He's the one who works for the Castellantas and probably designed all the... I'm sure he could get us a good deal on one of these things. That is, if I wasn't trying to kill.
Lithana's voice trails off as she turns her face away from you all, the sound of the wind cutting off her last word.
You said trying to kill? What?
That's a long story.
Well, we
Well-
have a long ride.
At least a day, they said.
Well, as you probably have guessed by now, or I've told you, I'm a bounty hunter, so I capture or kill whatever my employer says, and, well, my employer is the Aisha Weapons Company. I don't usually say all this, but I think we've been together long enough that, Nash, or Caster, he goes by. Well, he's my cousin. He used to be a dear friend, but now they want him dead. And they sent me to do the job.
Your own cousin?
Yeah, him and his sister, they left the house, the company. They were just kids. They were maybe 15, 18, but they left. I was really good friends with his sister. But such is life, I guess. And she just looks at her hands.
I've heard of family quarrels, but I think killing him is taking it to another level.
You could definitely say that.
You certainly seem none too happy about it.
No, in fact, he told me he knew something. That's why I came to Shard. Something about my past that I can't remember, so makes killing him even harder.
So, do you have to kill him?
Well, yes. I mean, I think they trust me enough. I've never let them down on a job. My family.
Yeah, but
Such
this
as
time
that.
they're having you kill your family.
And I haven't really figured that out yet.
Well, what if one of us could speak to him before you have to, and maybe we can help you find out what it is he knows.
That might not be a bad idea. That might be helpful, yes. And his sister, her name is Zara, I think. Her name is Zara. She's on my list too.
She was your friend. Your friend and your family.
I know, but they give me the job. They are my family, though. I mean, they're the ones who left, who deserted, but I don't know. I don't.
There is the world, but then there is your family.
Well, the thing is, my family is also my employer. So,
So they escaped your family, right? This Zara and her brother.
yes.
They fled, and your family wants you to go kill them. What if whatever they tell you makes you want to flee from them? Are you the next on the list?
I don't think so. They trust me very much, but I've never let them down. But this just seems different.
And you got this directly ordered from your family? It's not from a letter or something? Like, I just find it so hard to believe your mother or father could have just looked at you and said, hey, I need you to go kill your cousin right now.
Well, they just send me lists. I don't always communicate directly. I get my list and I do my job. But I know it was from them. So
If your family is on a list, then it doesn't matter who carries it out. It's going to get carried out. You do have a duty to your family. But maybe what Ari is saying is true. Maybe you can have a couple words with them before you kill them. Find out what they know. No one needs to know that you know anything more than that.
yes, you are very wise, Ender and Ari. If you all could help me with that when we get back, I'd much appreciate it. And she just kind of has her head in her hands, like just not sure what.
Yeah, I'll do my best to help.
Ender's just going to put his hand on your shoulder and then take it off quietly.
Hey, Eli,
Yes.
have you any experience with comparing handwriting, things like that?
I can look at it.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know. Something tells me maybe that letter wasn't from her family.
I can look at it, but I would have to have something to compare it to. I've never met her family or know what their family's handwriting is like.
I appreciate it, Ari, but just with professionalism, I can't really give you my hit list. That would not be professional. But just be safe to know that none of you are on it, otherwise you'd already be dead. So you have a little bit of a shirt.
I should mention that anyone sitting close to your friend Gunthrul smells really good right now. His
He
skin,
smells-
like, very good. Like, he smells like a newborn baby.
I was like, wait, how good? Is he like tacos? Like what?
He's got that new baby smell going on for him.
He smiles at you as he closes his eyes.
You know, I think this is the first time I'll say it, but Gunny smells kind of nice.
Are you sure? Are you sure Gunny isn't on that list, Luthana?
Oh, I'm quite sure, but don't get on my bad side, guys.
Right, don't try and hug you anymore. We learned that lesson the hard way.
Or more like, don't get on the bad side of the Aisha Weapons Company.
Never.
So, do you all wish to continue to converse for a while and then take a long rest? You can do so while within the vehicle. The vehicle is comfortable enough. The interior is wide enough to fit up to 6 individuals. So you're able to take your long rest if you wish.
Yes.
Okay. Unless you all have something else that you'd like to do.
Nope.
All
I'll
right.
do my normal resting things like sharpening my blade and medit.
Okay.
I want to copy spells into my spell book.
You want to copy spells into your spell book? Okay.
Yeah.
You can certainly do so with a little bit of some light to assist you.
Is there any light?
Don't you have a spell shard?
Oh, yes. Copy it into my spell shard.
Okay, so then you don't need a light source. It emits its own light.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you as you look, and at one point in time, if you're conscious, or any time that you've been traveling with Eli, you would have noticed that Eli doesn't carry a traditional, paper bound with leather bound book. He carries what looks like a chunk of crystal dragon shard.
Yeah, I pulled it out and I look around and smile. And everyone's looking at me with the light. Oh, well, I use my cloak to cover it up, try to make everyone let them sleep. And I'll copy from the spells I got from the guy we killed on the road.
Okay. The gentle sound of the wind blowing past you. The morning sun begins to rise off in the distance. And you come to another day.
I'm sure we had to stop several times for bathroom breaks, especially for Gunny.
You gotta walk.
And for the ladies.
And for the ladies.
Every hour for the ladies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Our first road trip, guys, in the car.
My first road trip ever. We should be nearing our destination soon, shouldn't we?
Atlas, how far are we? As Eli wakes up.
There's sort of an audible, sort of a chiming. It's like a boom, boom, boom. And you hear that familiar voice of this gentleman who says, "You will arrive at your destination in approximately 4 days." And the voice is sort of tinny and breathy. You were referring to Trollimport, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
4 days.
Now, the other location, which you can see now on the map, the indicator shows that you're much closer now to the border between Braylon and Zalargo, and you can still see that indicator, that blinking indicator, and you can see the word Argonth. And it's sort of like a floating scroll that unfurls out, and you can see in it sort of an illusory script spelled out Argonth. And if anyone would like to roll a history check on Argonth, they can.
I look at it. Interesting. 28.
Okay. So, Eli, you recall that House Cannith created several floating cities during the last war. And you remember that Argonth was one of 5 such fortresses that were essentially floating cities that would travel very slowly across the landscape, and would move like, the military. You remember that several of them were lost during the course of the war, and you, of course, would know that Argonth travels at a steady speed of about 2 miles an hour along the border of Brayland.
Basically, they'll protect the borders, correct?
Essentially, it travels along the borders of Brayland at all times. And, of course, you would know that it's mainly populated by military personnel, and that they have protocols that are enforced at all times aboard the structure. And that every few weeks, the floating city stops and takes on supplies. And when that occurs, usually there's a market that grows up around the floating town, where nearby folk will come to trade and share news with like the soldiers that are harbored within the mobile fortress. You would also know with a 28 that visitors are rarely given permission to enter Argonth. So your best bet to interact with these soldiers and individuals within the city is to participate within the festival.
Is the city landed or is it floating?
It doesn't appear to have moved since you last viewed it on the Atlas slate last night.
Does anyone want to get out and look around a floating fortress, or we keep going?
Would you like to, Nick? I mean, you know.
Freudian slip.
I mean, that was pretty cool, but
Who's Nick?
hey, Gunny. Well, actually, Ari, Lathana, I don't know if it would be a great idea having, the troublemakers with us. The military code and all enforced at all times.
Well, I think the better question is, should we leave them by themselves?
Well, knowing that he could change at any moment would be a really bad thing around a lot of military personnel.
So, Gunny, can you control yourself?
So looking at Gunthrul suddenly grows a mohawk of striped hair, black and blonde, all mixed in.
Whoa, neat.
And
That
Gunthrul,
looks really nice, Gunny.
your teeth, your canines elongate just slightly, and you don't grow any hair on your hands, but your nails elongate a little bit. And you can feel like this sort of warm sensation down the back of your head, all the way traveling down your neck, between your shoulder blades. And it feels a little itchy. And as you reach back and feel, there is a tuft of hair which is growing directly out the back of your neck, down your back, and seems to grow down your back, all the way down to the end of the middle of your back, your lower back.
I can control it.
Did you do that
Oh yeah,
to your hair?
you like it?
You did? You were in control? Yeah? That didn't just happen?
Oh,
Gunthrul's eye color is sort of like a golden honey brown now.
How about this? I can disguise you as yourself, and that might cover whatever comes up.
oh, you want me to go back? You want me to go back or what?
Yeah, I think that we should leave the tiger in the car.
And other than the striking tuft of hair that's now growing out of his head, Gunthrul doesn't really look all that much different. His skin has sort of like a bit softer sheen to it. Like he looks moisturized. Like he doesn't look quite as grizzled as he did before. Still has the pockmarks and
still scarred.
he still has the scars, but the scars look softer. The skin is much softer in the areas. Like his whole features just look softer. His cheekbones are a bit pointy, and his jaw is powerful and angular.
I didn't know
But
he
he-
used conditioner.
Still resembles himself. And that new baby smell is still wafting off of him.
I think we should bring him with us. Maybe I can disguise him as himself. So if any other changes, it just, stays.
Well, the real question is, do we need anything? Usually what happens is when the city stops, and I think it stopped, a large market appears around the city. But technically we don't have to go in the city. We can just go to the market. Anything, if anyone wants to buy anything, or we could pass by. I'm looking at passing by. I think that's a better option, but it's up to you.
And then, yes, I am Eli, and I want to buy some spells. Is that what I'm here?
I mean, I think my want to buy spells is a little less than whatever he is. I think I'm better off traveling past this.
Ari, Ender, Gunny, what do you think?
I don't need anything from the market.
I think I should go with Eli, and maybe we should keep Gunny here. I'm not sure how to deal with this.
Well, do you need anything from the market? I think that's what we're deciding at the moment.
Eli does.
Yes, but I can get it in Drawlin Port.
I can stay here with Gunny if that's what you guys are worried about.
I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be splitting the party up.
All I'm saying
We'll be
is
fine.
there's a lot of military presence, and bar fights can't happen here. And if they do, we're all dead.
I think I vote Drunken Port as well.
I think Gunny has learned a lesson in restraint.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, Gunny, it seems like the party has voted. You're staying here, and I'm gonna follow you.
I'll stay behind.
Okay, so did you all just want to continue on the road and pass the time until you arrive at Argon?
Yeah, there's no need to stop.
Okay. I mean, other than drinking water, eating food, that sort of thing.
Yep. But we packed enough, correct? I mean, only 5 days.
It's only been 5 days, correct. You haven't refilled any provisions.
I'm running low on food.
Although
We'll let you
I
out
would
in the
say
woods.
I would say that Ender and Gunny had themselves a lovely dinner before the Drunken Cobbler turned into a bloodbath.
Did we eat food?
Yeah, you guys roleplayed that you ate food. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Remember, he was offering you ribs and wings?
Oh, yes, I do remember that now.
He asked you to suck his bone dry? Yeah.
No, I don't remember that. Sorry. That was so naughty.
Okay, then. Well, if you decide to pass the time, again, it takes you roughly 12 hours, so coming up right on sunset. Not too dissimilar from before. You can see in the distance as you're getting close to this massive floating fortress, which is elongated in areas. The front of it has sort of like a scoop, almost like the front of a House Orion elemental train, the lightning rail. You can see, though, buildings, platforms with towers and different parts of the city, which are at different intervals. And I'll go ahead and share a map with you. And as you approach from a distance, you can see that the facility is hovering above the ground. And just beyond it, you can see these various tents. This almost tent city, which has sort of erupted up around this area. And you're right on the Braylon-Zalargo border now. And as your vehicle begins to... I'm assuming, Eli, you programmed it into that Argonth was your current destination?
Yes.
Okay. So eventually the vehicle comes to a stop. Just under this massive floating fortress. You just see the thing hovering, and you can hear just a sort of a thrumming coming from this thing. And you're just feeling the presence of this enormous object, this floating city. And you can see it looks like there's a raised citadel of some sort at the very front of this massive contraption. And off in the distance, you can start to hear now faint music, which is being played. But seems to be coming from the center of the tented areas. And you can see people now milling about off in the distance towards the market.
So here's the plan, guys. Lathana, find us food. Me and Ender will get to watch her. And wine. And Ari, play mom to Gunny. Guys, ready?
Got it.
Let's make this like 5 minutes. And let's get ourselves on our way.
Okay. So you're all heading together?
No, splitting up between the tents. So we're gonna go find water and wine.
So
me and Ender and
who's going with who, I should ask?
I'm staying behind with Gunny.
Okay. You're just staying, you're not going into the market, you're just staying with the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, what about Ender, Lathana, and Eli? What are you guys doing?
I mean, I think we'd kind of go together and branch off to get the different supplies.
Okay.
all right, that works.
As you're...
Are there trees nearby or woods?
You can see off to the north, you can see the forest, which is patchy in places. You can see the great long plains that divide between Zalargo and Brayland. And from where you're currently at, the forest is quite far away from where you are currently. There's almost like right where the Brayland and Zalargo border meet, there's a very wide expanse of a valley, just rolling hills between two sets of wood, between the King's Forest to the west, and then a large chunk of forest to the east within Zalargo's border.
Is there like over or undergrowth or high grass?
Oh yeah, very tall grass. Beyond the main road of the Orient trade route, you can see that there's big patchy areas of the rolling fields off in the distance of tall grass, and it encroaches the road in areas. And Eli, Lathana, and Ender, you said you're heading into the market proper?
Yes, just to find food and water and some wine.
And wine.
Okay. And wine?
And right before Lathana puts back her blonde wig back on.
Okay. As you begin to get closer to the tents proper, you can see now various individuals that are riding through on large animals. You see elephants and rhinoceroses. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that correctly. Rhinoceros. As they ride through the crowd slowly, you see these colorfully painted warforged who are guiding these beasts of burden, which are fully decked out and painted as well. And they just sort of, you can see their forms as they sway in the saddles back and forth as the great lumbering beasts are moving through the crowds. And you can hear various individuals, sort of carnival barkers who are calling for people to come up and test their skill. You see what appears to be a troupe of entertainers, which are up on sort of a haphazardly constructed stage, and they're doing various acrobatic displays. There's a gentleman who is currently balancing with one hand, and he is spinning a baton, which is a light with fire on either end, with his feet. He is spinning it in his toes. And just beyond that, you can see several tents, very like multicolored, of different colors, bright yellows and greens and blues. And there's one in particular, which is a bit offset from the carnival activity to the side, which is a bit larger than the other tents. And it sort of sticks up at weird angles at the top. And as you're standing there, Lithana, you see this sort of a crone-like woman who is bent over, and she's holding up a Everbright lantern, and she's just sort of smiling and laughing and gesturing for you to come towards her. You can just hear her calling in the distance. Yes, dearie, come this way. Come to Madame Vostra. And she continues to gesture towards you, Lithana, towards her tent. And the tent is open, and you can see beyond the tent, even from how far away you are now, you can just see this lavish and posh interior within the tent, which is lit by more Everbright lanterns.
Oh, hi. What you selling?
Oh, I tell fortunes. Of course, I can tell your future.
What a waste of time. We gotta go.
No thanks, but nice to meet you, ma'am. We're looking for some meat and some...
Oh, I can help you with that. Oh, Reginald. And as she calls out now, there a skinny man wearing a very flowy, open shirt with like a deep V collar that goes down almost to his navel comes up and he says, "Yes, madame. These folk were looking for provisions, yes." And Reginald now looks to each of you and he says, "Oh, I can arrange for things for you if you wish. Fair prices, of course. I can bring it to you right here. That way you don't get lost within and possibly pulled to any of the rapscallions within the other tents that might try to take your coin from you. If you all wait right here with the madame, I can arrange for it. What did you all need?"
And how did I know you're not a rapscallion?
"Well, I work for Madame Vostra, of course. She can vouch for me."
Do I believe him?
You can roll. Go ahead and roll an insight check. Back at the vehicle, he seems to be very much on the up and up. He seems to believe very much so that your best bet would be to hunker down here and not get lost within the crowd and get pulled away from your companions. Which you can see now, there are hundreds of people milling about within the square, and as the sun is starting to set, the yellows and greens and oranges of the sky are now beginning to sort of diffuse. And you can continue to hear the sounds of the music, the sounds of an elephant trumpeting in the background somewhere. Back at the ship now, back at the carriage, Auri and Gunthrul are now sort of lounging, reclining within the vehicle.
Did I make the roll I needed?
Yes, you did.
All right. So, Orion, would you like to follow me? And I change down into a full tiger form, and I'll start prancing out into the high.
Okay, let's not get too far though. Let's keep kind of close, all right?
Did you want to transform too?
Sure, I'll turn into a wolf.
All right.
A tiger and a wolf now pass into the high grass away from their vehicle. Back within the market square, Eli, Luthana, and Ender are now standing there, and Manavostra is continuing to sort of grin and smile at all of you. And holding up her lantern, she begins to encroach very slowly with one hand on gesturing out towards you, Ender, and she says, "Oh, a half-orc. It has been some time since I've seen someone as you.
How
And
long has
you
it been?
wear the vestments. Oh my, are you a samurai?"
Are you a fortune teller?
"That indeed I am." And she now gestures towards her tent. "Please."
I'm going to reach for money from coin, for my coin, and I'm going to give you 5 gold.
And she begins to reach for the gold, and she looks at the 5 gold, and then she takes the 5 gold and counts out 2 gold and hands 3 gold back to you, and now gestures towards the tent. Please enter. Your companions can wait in the parlor."
I'll keep the 3 gold coins in the palm of my hand, and I'll follow her in the tent.
Okay. As you enter in, Luthana and Eli, do you follow?
You broke up there. Last thing I heard was left.
Oh, did I? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again.
Eli and Luthana, as you watch Ender begin to enter into this large tent and pass into some sort of a parlor area, do you follow?
Yeah, follow.
Okay.
As I enter the tent, I take off my sandals.
Okay. As you enter into the tent, you see trays of foodstuff, decanters of what looks like wine, and plates of piled pastries, which are floating around. And as you enter into the parlor area, Luthana and Eli and Ender, these trays sort of float up towards you, as if offering food and drink to you. And Manavostra now looks and says, "Come along now, dearie." And she gestures toward a beaded curtain, which is just beyond this parlor area. Looking around, Eli, Luthana, you see these overstuffed pillows, which are spread out in a semicircle around the area. And the
I
tray...
accept her hospitality, and I totally grab some wine, too.
Okay. It's delicious. It's mulled wine. It's very spicy. It's got a spice to it. And it warms your insides when you take a drink.
I tell my friends that the wine's good.
And Eli, Luthana, looking around the tent, you can see now there are these glowing orbs that seem to resemble planets. And they appear to be roiling and spinning in orbit around each other. And you can see just beyond that, the ceiling of this parlor area, you see starlight. An expanse of stars. It's almost as if you're looking at a solar system. And Vostra now leads you, Ender, into this beaded curtain. And as she passes through the beaded curtain, her form seems to evaporate. the beads sliding close. And as you begin to approach the beaded, you just smell this warm lavender scent that wafts through the beads towards you. Do you enter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Ender, as you pass through, all sound and your sight suddenly go black for a moment. The sound is muffled, and then when your eyesight begins to return, you now see a oval-shaped table with a bit of material, this silken material that has a starlight pattern on it. And you can see more of those glowing orbs illuminating within this chamber. Looking behind you, you can see that beaded curtain is much further away. It almost seems 50 yards away from where you were. But you could have sworn that you only took a few steps into this chamber. The gypsy woman is now seated at the table. And as she reaches up and pulls back her hood, her features suddenly begin to morph and change. And as she pulls her hands down over her face, her image of that of a crone now is morphed into that of a beautiful young woman. Painted eyes, deep crimson lips, long curly black hair. And she has bits of jewelry that is spread out. And she says, "Welcome, my friend. Welcome to my sanctum. You've come to have your fortune read. I apologize for the ruse."
Thank you for the hospitality.
"You have
This is a
come to
beautiful
have
place.
your fate read. I appreciate you're too kind, sir." And the whole time she's been talking, she pulls out what looks to you like a 3x5-inch stack of something that's wrapped in a bit of material. And she lays it out in front of her and starts to open up this silky material and reveals to you a stack of what looks like cards, oversized cards.
I
And
would like to pause this for just a moment and say the last time I was in one of your games, Jeremy, and there were any kind of cards, my character ended up being stripped naked. His alignment changed, and then he went from evil to good, and then you in prison.
Okay. I remember that.
Yeah. So if you do the same thing, I want you to know that we're going to have talks outside of the game.
Okay.
Continue. Sorry.
Good times. So Vostra now says to you, Ender, "Do you wish to know your fate?"
Yes.
"First, I must explain exactly what I do and who I am. I am Madam Elanius Vostra, and I come from a place that is more than likely unknown to you. I come from a place called Ravenloft. I came to this world, this plane, if you will, many years ago. Started anew, traveling with my new family here. This," and she now gestures with a long fingernail to the deck and taps it, the center of the top card. "This is the Toroka. It will tell you your fate. May reveal things to you. Things that you may want to know. Some things you may not want to know. If you are willing, we will proceed."
I am willing. Let's please proceed.
And she begins to lay out the cards. And she lays them out in a pattern that's sort of one card in the center, and then radiating out on each corner of the card, or each side, short edges and the long edges of the card. She lays out 4 more cards. And the first card she pulls... the merchant. This is, of course, a paltry thing. You have a friend who has run afoul of merchants as of late. Is that right?
Yes, I suppose.
And she looks to you and she says, "Do not worry. I'm sure his misfortunes will turn in time." She points to the next card, which is on the closest to you on the short edge of the middle card. The traitor. And you see now an image of a fat man with a skinny man in front of him, and he's holding a dagger behind his back. Oh my. This is most distressing. Someone, I'm afraid, will attempt to betray you soon.
Is this someone in my traveling party? Do you know who?
Unknown. Just know that it is someone who is close to you. Either the cards are tricky, you see. Could be now, it could be some time from now. Could be someone that you become close to later. She then pulls the next card. Oh my. The anarchist. This is intriguing. One of your friends has a bit of a wild streak in them. Perhaps goes against the norm. Be careful of this one. Then pulls another card. This one is that of a pale, scraggly humanoid holding a lantern. The ghost. You seek something which is in the wind. Someone who is particularly good at masking their movements.
Yes, we do.
And she
My party
finally...
and
I have a feeling you will encounter this person soon. And then she pulls her last card, which is that of a massive black raven in a graveyard. And she then reaches across the table and grabs your hand. Your freest, whichever free hand is available. And do you allow her to take it?
Of course.
Her eyes suddenly roll back in her skull, and she says, I see a great marshland with a rising city in the distance. An army stirs. The nation's many weapons pointed outwards, casting off foreigners. I see death, tyranny.
I look at her wide-eyed, angry almost.
She
and
looks
I'm going
at you.
to...
Her eyes still rolling in the back of her head. Her hand is now clawing your wrist, and she says, tyranny, brought on by someone you have a dark connection to. I see the architect of your misfortunes prospering from the suffering of your people. And she breathes heavily, in and out, now blinking her eyes, her eyelashes fluttering, and her eyes are no longer rolling in the back of her head. She now says, "Oh my, that was unusual. Oh, I apologize. If you would see yourself out, I need a moment."
Yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm gonna leave my 3 gold coins in front of her, and I'm going to grab another cup of wine on my way out and leave, and not even say anything. I'm gonna be kind of upset that she talked about my.
You pass beyond your companions out through the.
Yep.
Okay. So Eli, Lithana, there's suddenly this sound of beads being disturbed, and your companion now passes through. And you can see now that Ender seems to be booking it out of this tent.
I don't forget my sandals.
And you grab your sandals, you festoon them back onto your feet as you head out.
Yep.
Not a word spoken to either of you. It's a bit of light music now.
I'm going to turn to my party and tell them that it seems like our mission is on the right track. I feel like we will find Ulrich.
Within the tent now, that you can hear the sound of the music beyond, which is tinkling and wafting back into the tent. Back within the rolling hills, just beyond the outskirts of the market, a tiger and a wolf, step in step, passing through the tall grass. The smells of the tall grass are strong within your senses, and you pick up a smell of some sort. This sort of a spicy smell, Gunthrul. It seems familiar yet unfamiliar at the same time. And as you begin to pass through the undergrowth, you come out exposed for a bit in this bit of an alcove within the tall grass. Auri just behind you. And as you exit from the tall grass, you see a strange sight. You see 2 tigers feasting on a fresh kill. And one of them is a bit larger than the other. And as it turns and looks, you catch the eye shine from its eyes as it looks in your direction, and has a big, deep, throaty growl. And as you look, you can see now that this tiger has a series of knotted tuft hair on it between its shoulder blades. Some sort of braided mohawk, which travels from the back of its skull all the way down its back. And the tiger suddenly shimmers, its form melts and molds and moves. And standing before you now is a quite nude Kasha. And she says, "Well, hello, lover." And that's where we're going to end for tonight.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Alrighty.
You're gonna see some things, Ari.
We're so sorry.
Let's shoot shots at target anyway. Am I right?
Everyone, Derek. Everyone shops at Target.
when I'm following a lady around in the underwear department, I just want to walk up to them saying, "Hey, you want to get to know each other?" I mean, I'm just here to.
You're right, guys. Sorry, we went way too long without memeing.